Would you like to have superpowers? Okay, maybe not actual superpowers, but would you like to be able to develop some life-changing habits, but you can't seem to find the traction to do so? You inevitably find yourself falling back into the same old routines and same old habits, and then you end up settling for good enough, once again, rather than going after the fulfilling life you were meant to live. If you're kind of nodding along thinking, yeah, this makes sense, I can relate to this, Amanda, then stick around, because today we're going to talk about how to break out of this cycle. And of course, the way you're going to break out of this cycle is by spending time alone, which you might have figured out from the title of this video. It's right in the title. But there's a little bit more to it than that. We're going to talk about focusing our time alone on developing 5 superpowers. And these 5 superpowers are going to help you maintain the daily life-changing habits that are going to lead you to develop personal growth. And so right now you might be thinking, but Amanda, I don't like spending time alone. Okay, fair enough. I can empathize with that, although I do enjoy spending time alone. I know I don't like to spend too much time alone either. But you might have to start thinking about, why don't you like spending time alone? Do you have some deep emotional or psychological demons that you really need to face? And you're probably going to need help facing those, but at the end of the day, the only way you're going to face those is by spending time alone. And you also might be saying, hey, I'm an extrovert. I get my energy from being around other people. Why would I want to spend time alone? Well, sure, you gain energy from other people, and I can respect that, of course, but I'm not saying you have to spend full days or even hours on end by yourself, but I am saying that you need to schedule some time in your week, at least a couple times a week, hopefully. Schedule some time to spend time with yourself. And now you might be thinking, but Amanda, I do spend a lot of time alone. Okay, maybe, but maybe you don't spend as much time alone as you really think. Because when I say time alone, I'm talking about eliminating all, or as many as possible, eliminating all outside distractions. So you have no outside influence, no outside communication. So you're not on social media, you're not texting anybody, you're not on email, you're not Snapchatting or whatever you do to communicate with people. And this is time when you are really by yourself to enjoy your own company. And so really, if you think about it, you probably don't spend that much time alone, because in your alone time, you're probably scrolling through social media or doing whatever you want to do, and you have all this outside influence coming at you. And I definitely encourage you to spend some of your time alone doing things that you enjoy, of course, but if you are serious about personal growth, you have to spend a significant amount of your alone time dedicated to thinking and dedicated to learning, like you are right now. And I would say maybe even like 75% or more of your alone time should be spent that way if you want to see true personal growth and develop life-changing habits. Okay, so what are the 5 superpowers that I'm talking about here? I'm going to list them out here. So one is, when you spend time alone, you're going to gain self-awareness. You're going to make a new friend. You are going to become emotionally self-sufficient. You're going to be able to do what you want, and you're going to experience personal development, but a specific kind of personal development called individuation. So let's talk about self-awareness first. If you want to live the fulfilling life you were meant to live, you first have to know what fulfilling means to you, because it's different for everyone. It's going to mean something different to everyone. And I love this quote from Jordan Peterson. I'm going to read it here a minute. He says, one of the main reasons people don't get what they want is because they don't actually figure out what it is. So the only way to figure out what your it is, or what fulfills you, is to spend time alone. It's by gaining self-awareness. And the only way that you're going to gain self-awareness is by spending time alone. I mean, I say it's the only way. I don't know that it's the only way, but it's the best way that I know of, and it may be the only way to gain self-awareness. And during this time, what you're going to do is you're going to focus on listening to yourself. And you're limiting outside influences like we talked about before, so now you can really just sit back and not think about what other people are trying to put in your head. You can think about what your inner voice is trying to tell you. And Of course, it's not easy to do. I don't have an easy time sitting quietly alone by myself. And I usually have music on or something because I can't really just sit in quiet when my brain just starts going crazy. So I get that part. You're going to want to distract yourself, is my point. So you might, at first, until you get good at just sitting alone with yourself and just sitting alone with your thoughts, listening to yourself, you might want to set up some kind of reward system with yourself. So say, hey, if I can spend 5 minutes sitting by myself today, just listening to myself, then I'm going to reward myself by going to the coffee shop and getting my favorite latte, or, whatever it is. But set up some kind of reward system if you need to. Okay, the other thing you're going to do, your next superpower, is going to be making a new friend. Well, that's not the actual superpower. We'll get to that in a minute, but you might be thinking, how the heck am I going to make a new friend when I'm by myself? Well, you're overlooking the fact that you are the most important person in your life. And I know it sounds hokey, I know it sounds hallmarkish or whatever to say you should be your own best friend, but really, you should. Because who better to be your best friend than yourself? Who do you spend more time with? Whose thoughts do you have control over? Whose actions feelings and whatever do you have control over? Your own. So really, you should be your best friend. And here's the superpower part. So think of all the superpowers you would have if you could truly look in the mirror and say, I am my own best friend. You'd be confident, you'd be resilient, you'd be independent. So these are things that are definitely worth pursuing. But the problem is you're so busy building relationships with other people, which is great, but you don't save any time for yourself to build a relationship with yourself. And you're trying so hard to make other people like you that you don't focus on liking yourself. And think about it, do you really like yourself? We all have things about ourselves that we don't like, that we need to really think about and try to accept, either change or accept. And that's what you're going to do during this alone time, is spend some time focusing on those things so that you can honestly look in the mirror and say that you like yourself and that you are your own best friend. Okay, the next superpower is going to come from being emotionally self-sufficient. And I'm going to get a bit morbid here for a minute because I want to bring a point home. But if you sit and think about this, in the last days of your life, who are you going to be spending the most time with? Okay? A lot of people around you, your friends, maybe your spouse, your parents, your brothers, sisters, whatever, people who are close to you in age, they might all be gone already. You might be one of the only ones left. You might be fortunate enough to have kids and grandkids who want to spend time with you, but a lot of times when you're at the end of your life, they're at a busy time in their life, and they aren't going to have, even if they want to spend a lot of time with you, they're just not going to have the time to do so. So here you are, you're going to be spending a lot of time by yourself, and you're going to be in a weakened state from age, and you're going to be fighting off whatever you're fighting off at that age. And this is a recipe for falling into despair and depression. But it doesn't have to be, because if you can develop the superpower of emotional self-sufficiency, you don't have to fall into that trap. So what is self-sufficiency? I'm going to read a definition from Steve Taylor, PhD. He wrote this on Psychology Today. So I didn't look into his background, but I assume he's a psychologist. So anyways, this is what he said. Self-sufficiency is the quality of feeling secure and content with oneself, a deep-rooted sense of inner completeness and stability. It's a feeling of fundamental wholeness and well-being. So you feel whole and well, I guess, with yourself. So I would say, in other words, you're not relying on anyone else for your happiness. You're not relying on anyone else to pull you out of the doldrums when you're having a bad day. And it doesn't mean, though, that you don't ever seek company, that you don't ever seek comfort or advice from other people. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that when you do that, it's a supplement to your own self-care. So you're taking care, first of all, you take care of yourself. If you need a little extra help, you supplement that with some care and some comfort and advice from other people. So I use the analogy, this end of life analogy, just to kind of bring the point home. But you don't have to wait, obviously, until the end of your life. Think about how great your life would be right now if you were emotionally self-sufficient today. And I really think this is a lifelong process. I mean, I'm not anywhere near there. I'm not trying to give that idea or impression that I am. I work on it every day. I feel pretty good about where I'm at, but I think it's something we just work on our entire lives. And you can be emotionally self-sufficient if you work on it every day and you start spending some time alone. Because spending time alone is the only way you're going to get there, obviously. And during that alone time, maybe you're going to be thinking about your thoughts and feelings, and maybe you start journaling that. And you could even start journaling your delights. And if you don't know what a delight is, I have a separate post about that, so check that out. If you just search for delight on the website, you should be able to find that. And that's a pretty cool article. Another superpower is that you're going to get to do what you want when you're by yourself, okay? So I can't help but think of Cartman from, I don't know if you know this, but Cartman from South Park. You know, when I say I do what I want, but the point is you get to do all the fun, dorky, weird, embarrassing things that maybe you wouldn't do when other people are around. And these are the things that make you feel like you. They're the things that make you feel like a kid again. And this is a superpower because it energizes you when you have a chance to do these things. It makes you feel good to be alive. It reminds you that life can be fun. And all these feelings are going to have a positive influence on you and on the rest of your day, on your attitude, and you're going to spread that to everyone you interact with during the day. So you never know how far that impact is going to go. I'll tell you what my guilty pleasures, whatever you want to call them, are. Well, a couple of them are guilty pleasures. I don't know. I don't have that many guilty pleasures because I'm kind of an open book, but one of mine is I love Gilmore Girls. I watch it on Netflix. I've probably been through it like 5 times. I don't really watch it. It's more kind of in the background. But I'll sit and I'll just laugh at the characters and I'll be talking to the TV and because I know everything that happens and I just love doing that. And it's really dorky and weird, but I do it. So another thing that may be surprising is I love alternative metal music, and that might surprise you given my persona here. But I do, and I love singing along to it, and I love dancing to it, and whatever, and so, you know, I do that when I'm by myself. And then the other one that's not quite so weird, but it's something I really enjoy, is I really enjoy taking hikes, walking, biking by myself. I do enjoy company, too, when I do those things, but I really enjoy doing those activities by myself. So now think about what are the activities you like to do by yourself, or things that you wouldn't normally do with other people around, and make time in your schedule to do them. Go right in your calendar right now if you need to. But it's important to make time to do those things. Okay, and then the last superpower is personal development, specifically individuation. And individuation is a superpower, and you'll see why here in a minute. So when you're alone, you can focus on processing your thoughts because, again, we're shutting out outside influences. So we're focusing on processing our own thoughts because we're subject to so much outside influence in a day that it's hard to do that, and we end up repressing a lot of our own thoughts. And then, of course, we create this persona. Everybody does it. We create this persona that we present to the world that may or may not represent who we really are, and most likely it doesn't represent who we really are. So individuation is the process of bringing these repressed thoughts to your consciousness, and then you're using these thoughts to dismantle that persona that you're presenting that isn't really you. Not that you have to dismantle your persona full, because some of it is going to be you, but the parts that maybe feel fake to you or feel inauthentic, those are the parts that you're going to want to dismantle. And through this process of individuation, you gain a superpower of being able to realize your full potential, really, because what it does is it's going to make you feel whole and complete, because you're going to feel like the most authentic version of yourself possible. So this concept of individuation, it's huge. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface here. It's very complex, but it was introduced by Carl Jung, And he's a notable psychologist and psychiatrist. You've probably heard his name. It's spelled J-U-N-G if you want to look him up. Carl Jung, J-U-N-G. So I'm not going to get into a lot of specifics. That's not what this is about. But I wanted to introduce the concept because I do think it's so powerful to think about individuating yourself, basically separating yourself from the crowd and being your own true person. So I'm going to end this section with a quote from Carl Jung. And he said, "If we constantly repress thoughts which run counter to the dominant moral system of our society," so in other words, if we're repressing thoughts that don't go with the flow, that don't match what everybody else is telling us we should do or what we should believe or whatever, or how we should act. So if we constantly repress thoughts which run counter to the dominant moral system of our society, we will never reach the deeper layers of our psyche, the deeper layers of who we truly are. We will never reach the deeper layers of our psyche, an awareness of which can often substantially improve our lives or lead to our full potential. So, are you ready to spend some time alone now? Well, do it. Schedule some time. Put it in your calendar if you need to. Try to schedule at least 5 minutes, 2 days a week. I mean, come on. I think we can all find it. 5 minutes isn't going to do much, but it's something. And it'll start getting the habit rolling. And maybe you'll start enjoying it hopefully right away and you'll extend that time. But spend that time working on developing these superpowers that we just talked about. And of course, I put a worksheet together for you guys to help you, guide you through each one of the superpowers, to help you think about them and how you can implement them into your own lives. So until next time, stay curious.